Well, you know, Danny Farnworth, he's been developing in that piece of ground across from the seminary there. And Coach was walking his dog almost every morning through there. And I just feel bad I didn't stop and spend more time talking instead of just rolling my window down and saying, hello. Yeah. So, I know I would never expect it.
Sure.
He's the most healthy guy I ever knew.
Oh, he looked great.
Yeah.
When I saw him, you know, man, he looked great. You never know what he's
No.
gonna be.
You know, I always teased him that every time I ran into him after he was a bishop and stake president, he joined the church my senior year.
Oh, did he?
And I always teased him it was the influence of the class of '74. Yeah, right, Mike.
You know, Bryce and I didn't realize, Bryce knew one of you boys was adopted, but all three were.
Yeah, yeah, they weren't able to have.
Yeah, he thought just the
Kids.
one, but all three.
Yeah.
Garrett,
Hello.
how are you? Good, that's good. Awesome is good. Hi, Jerry.
Yeah, if you didn't read his obit, you gotta read his obit. Daryl Henry. Yeah. He's in,
We're on, let's see.
yeah. Yeah, I did. You guys? We're good.
You're good, are you? Okay.
But you know, there was a kid
Is green on?
that
Okay.
was a standout for not having coaching. Did you know the Burpees? We had a freak fall when I was over there in a Christmas tournament.
We're gonna go ahead and start. We'd like to welcome you to our Planning Commission meeting this evening. This is Planning Commission meeting for January 25th, 2022. This meeting is being recorded this evening, and we're going to begin the meeting this evening with an opening prayer by Commissioner Marchbanks, and then a pledge of allegiance by Commissioner Johnson.
Our Father in heaven, we come before thee this evening at Planning Commission and give thee thanks for our many blessings. We thank thee for our blessings of living here in the city of Lindon, and pray that we'll be able to be about the city's business this evening and do it in a correct manner. Father in heaven, we pray for moisture, that we might be able to have the water that we need to water our crops and everything this season. And again, we thank thee for all blessings and say these things humbly in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 Please rise and repeat the pledge with me. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to begin our meeting this evening with an audible roll call of the commissioners. Sharon Call, here. Mike Marchbanks.
Here.
Jared Showers.
Here.
Rob Callis.
Here.
Stephen Johnson.
Here.
Scott Thompson, I believe he's been excused. And Renee Tribe.
Oh, I sat in the wrong spot. My fault.
And you're here, right?
I'm here. I am here.
Okay. The next item on our agenda, this is an approval of the minutes, and these are the minutes from January 11th, 2022. And commissioners have received those ahead of time, had a chance to review those. I didn't see any changes or corrections. Anyone else?
I didn't.
They looked good.
Okay, they looked great. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the voting is unanimous. And Item number 3 on our agenda, this is a time for public comment. This would be for any items not already on the agenda for this evening, and I don't believe we have public attending the meeting unless there's someone online. Okay. The next item on our agenda, item number 4, this is an ordinance amendment, and so we do need to open a public hearing.
I move to open a public hearing.
Okay, do I have a second?
I second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the voting is unanimous. Now, we'll go ahead. This is item number 4, ordinance amendment. This is in regards to massage establishments. And our presenting staff is Michael Florence and our city attorney, Brian Hawes. Thank you for being here with us also. We'll let you go ahead.
Okay, thanks, commissioners. Last time we saw this was the end of September, and Brian and I have reviewed this quite a bit in your comments that were very helpful last time. So we provided a summary there in your staff report. We'd be hopefully, you've had a chance to review that. We'd be glad to go through those if you want, or we can just answer questions for you. But we, just some of the highlights though, we did allow the home occupation for massages, but we did limit that to just the owner or, the permit holder that lives at the residence. Moved back the hours of operation to 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. We did remove it from the light industrial zone. We felt like that was incompatible when that zone is pretty empty after 5 o'clock. And so, it's better when these are located in areas where there's, more eyes on the business, those types of things. So you're amending 3 sections, or you're reviewing 3 sections of the city code. You're adding section 5.30 to the business license code. You're amending the home occupation section, and then you're amending the land use table, the standard land use table, to show where the uses are allowed. So with that, Brian, do you have any other?
No, unless there's some questions. I think we had a pretty good discussion of this. I'll just come up so that people online can hear. I think we had a pretty good discussion of this last time we were here. We apologize. It took us a little while. Mike was raring to go, and I was dragging my feet because I just had some things I wanted to look into. So we apologize that it took so long to get it back. But I think Mike has done a really good job in getting this, addressing those issues. So if there's any questions that anyone has, we'd be happy to answer them.
Can we just get a summary on each section, what was changing? For example, definition, did it stay the same pretty much?
The definition, we went in specifically and said the definitions, this does not apply to a physician, a chiropractor, or a physical therapist, so that there would be no question. I think that was in response to the concern about what if there's an emergency or something like that. We believe that those are the providers that will be giving those types of massages, and we didn't want to include those in this ordinance. So that's the only thing that we changed there. Most of the other sections, again, we got completely rid of the primary versus secondary use section. It's just gone. And we just made them conditional use so that we can take a look at it. And we thought that was probably the best way to address that issue. So we're not limiting, the larger massage providers, those companies that might have a national brand or, a larger brand. We also added a section there in 5.3 0.060, making it very clear that, Mike had some experiences up in South Salt Lake with people just renting booths, and you didn't know who was coming in and renting that booth. So we added a section that specifically requires them to provide and keep track of name, address, and ways to contact anyone that they might rent space to in their facilities, and that they are responsible. It's a principle of respondent superior that says, hey, if you're going to rent this property out, you're responsible for that person's actions. And if there are violations there, it violates your license, and you are subject to the penalties as well. And then again, just the hours of operation. I know there was some question about saying, hey, can we just get an emergency exception for that? We thought that maybe we move the hours, expand them a little bit, but when we throw in a loophole, it just kind of invites people to go there. And honestly, if someone's giving an emergency massage on an occasion when it truly is an emergency, we as a city are never gonna know about it, really, because it's gonna happen so infrequently. And so we're looking to maybe not throw in that loophole to invite anyone. So we did not add an exception. That was the one item we discussed that we did not change. So.
Well, and an emergency is so subjective.
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
as far as what would constitute an emergency.
Exactly. And again, by exempting out those professionals who really probably would respond to a legitimate emergency, the physical therapist, the chiropractor, and the doctor, we think that we covered that pretty well.
So the home occupation, they're not required to have a conditional use permit.
Right,
But they just apply for an occupation
Home
permit,
occupation.
and that's done on a staff basis? Okay.
This is just a little thing, but I noticed on, well, under the definitions section, well, excuse me, it's actually down under the zoning, conditional use and home occupation permit. It looks like you've got a home occupation for message therapy instead of a massage.
A little typo?
And then B also says message.
Okay.
And, I mean, those are just
That's a good
trivia
catch.
things, but you probably want it
That's a good
changed
catch.
in the
Yeah,
ordinance.
we do want it to be grammatically correct, for sure.
Okay.
And then if they're doing this in their home, only the homeowner can do the work. They cannot have employees.
Right,
So they couldn't hire on some additional massage therapists to be doing it. Only they can do that.
exactly.
Okay, I think that
And-
helps minimize.
I think, yeah, that was our thought too. Our ordinance allows a person to have one employee right now, and that's the cap for any home occupation
Right.
permit. But we felt in this circumstance, because honestly, again, in my time prosecuting for Lindon City, we've had 2 instances where we've had illicit massage establishments operating, and both times they're in the residential zone. They kind of go in those areas to try and hide, and again, this per se is not going to stop people from trying to
Sure.
to do these types of things, but it gives us tools to address them when those issues arise. And so we think that's our goal, is to dissuade and discourage people, understanding that there will be penalties, additional penalties on top of anything else that we can bring, so.
I think it's good that we're addressing this. I think we need to be wise to the fact that, this is a way that a lot of people get trafficked, or they get drugged, there's all kinds of nefarious things that happen.
Yeah.
And under this guise, so,
Yeah, and this came to our attention last year because of sister cities that were dealing specifically with
Right.
that. And we just want to be prepared in case there's something like that. And as we've prepared this, it's really a common, not uncommon, I wouldn't say it's common, but it's not unheard of to see these individuals go into these foreign countries, advertise that they're going to bring these women over to work as nannies, housekeepers, different types of things. And when they get here, they confiscate their documentation, their papers. They put them in a van and they ship them off to who knows where, and apparently even here to Utah. And they keep them bound up with that fear of immigration, fear of reporting. They don't even let them leave the homes. It's a pretty sad situation, and it's much more prevalent than we
they're
would think.
truly enslaved.
Yes,
And we need to realize that I-15 is right here, that's a big corridor
yeah, exactly.
for that kind of, awfulness.
Well, so even if it's, because you're allowing it as a home occupation business, but I'm looking at the Lindon City Standard Land Use Table. And
So I had that,
Yeah, that says no, but
That's
that's saying
right.
for a commercial establishment in the residential zone. If you look
Okay.
at all of our
Okay.
other uses, they're listed as no, but we still allow them to come in for
a home occupation.
home occupation.
Okay,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
just a little bit confusing.
Yeah.
to me.
And on the home occupation, is it still a conditional use?
currently isn't. It's a permitted use.
Permitted use, not.
Right, but under the new ordinance, because everything else is now conditional.
Right, it just goes through the home occupation process. They don't have to go through a conditional use.
Okay.
Right.
I guess that's what I'm asking,
Yeah.
right? Do they?
Right.
If it's a home occupation, that's handled at the administrative level.
Exactly.
So that
If
has
it's
it
anything
right-
else, it has to come through us.
Right.
Yeah, on number
Right.
number 2, right here, it says massage establishments may be permitted as a home occupation subject to the following. So it has those A, B, and C up there under number 2.
They don't have to come to us, it's just something staff will take care of.
Right.
In 2C, there is another little typo. I think it should say shall be provided. It says shall be provide,
Did, yes.
the last sentence there.
Last sentence there, thank you.
Brian, the two last incidences of this in Lindon, neither one of them were in home occupancy. They were
Right.
just
They were
going
just
on
doing,
under the, under the radar.
and at that time, we charged them, with facilitating prostitution, and doing business without a license. But with this one, we would have like 5 or 6 more charges that we could put on top of them as well. And it's just a tool that we can use to dissuade people. So. And in those cases, I will note that they were not trafficking cases. There was a family situation. It was kind of
I thought the
strange.
one down by me was actually a traffic. There's some Chinese girls
Oh,
down off 400 West.
this is the most recent one? Yeah, that one was.
Yeah.
And that didn't take place in, the actual massage facilities weren't in Lindon.
No, that's where the girls were.
They were
Exactly.
transferring them to there.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's right. That's
right.
yeah.
So but they were housing them there.
They were housing there.
How did that get tipped off?
There was some stings. I'm not sure how they got tipped off, but some undercover agents went in and determined that they were illicit massage facilities, and so they.
So in that case, we weren't able to do any charges then,
We
were
weren't,
we?
no.
Yeah.
They didn't violate any laws here in Lindon City. Right.
What is the penalty for, setting up a massage business
So
illegally?
for the individual who's performing the act, it's a prostitution charge, it's a Class B misdemeanor. And the fines range between $500 and $1,500. But for the person who is running that facility, if it's just facilitating prostitution, that's a 3rd-degree felony, a penalty of a year to 5 years in jail. Typically, they don't get that on their first charge, and fines up to $5,000. But if they can get human trafficking, then you're looking up into the 1st-degree, 2nd-degree felonies where there's some real serious time. And frankly, our AG is doing a really good job working with the feds in prosecuting human trafficking here in Utah, so.
Good.
Well, I read through it really, really well, and I don't have any other questions other than the ones I've asked. Anyone else? Okay, should we go ahead and close the public hearing, and then we can have any discussion and go ahead and take action if we want to. So do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Okay, do I have a second?
that.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the voting is unanimous. And thanks, Brian, for being here with us and explaining it to us. Okay, the next item on our agenda is also.
Do we have to vote on it?
Oh, okay. Where did I stop at?
We close the
Make a
public hearing.
motion. You closed the public.
Okay, right, I was gonna go ahead with the motion. It is, I was just gonna say, it's also an ordinance, so it requires a public hearing. So, do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
Didn't we just do that?
We need to
We'll do a
finish
motion to approve this.
To approve, deny, or.
We have to
continue.
finish
Oh,
the,
that's right.
item
okay.
4.
Yep.
I am so
We
sorry.
have to vote on that.
I'd make a
Okay.
motion. I move to recommend approval of the ordinance amendment 2022-1-0 as presented.
Okay, I have a motion.
Other than the typos.
Yeah.
Well, those will be
Yeah.
corrected. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second that.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the voting is unanimous. I apologize for that error. And now we are going to go on to item number 5. This is an ordinance amendment also, and so we do need to open a public hearing.
I move to open a public hearing.
I second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the voting is unanimous. And this is, our applicant is Lindon City. Our presenting staff is Michael Florence. So
Okay.
we'll let you go ahead.
All right, thanks, Commissioners. We discussed this the last couple meetings on the setback and height transition that's being proposed. One thing I thought was interesting is I pulled this statement from the general plan this week and included in your staff report. When it says, whenever commercial uses are adjacent to established or planned residential areas, special care must be taken to ensure privacy and protect personal property. Methods of protecting residential areas by providing transitions and buffers between residential and commercial areas includes setbacks, increased setbacks, landscaping, restricted land uses, diversion of traffic, controlled noise or light, height limitations, and transitional land uses such as research and development office uses. So I thought that was interesting about how it discussed transition and landscaping. That was some of the things that we've talked about as part of this ordinance amendment. So do you have any questions? I can go through this again. We talked about it quite a bit last time. But basically, it sets that 20-foot setback for 20-foot height instead of the 40-foot setback. And so you are narrowing that up a little bit for a smaller height, but you actually are increasing the setback for a taller height of a building. So where a 48-foot tall building could normally have a 40-foot setback under our ordinance, you would now have a 66-foot setback. And that's for side yard setback for commercial adjacent to residential.
I think with the examples that we reviewed last time, and I mean, it really seems like we're doing the right thing, and it's easy to visualize what we've done here. For
Yeah, that
sure.
graphic was really helpful.
Any other questions?
I did talk
On
this
that?
week, the people from the Fizz, that going in across the street, they may reapply under this ordinance and come back to you if it does pass the city council. So they're gonna put their project on hold a little while, so.
So would they reapply with their site plan or
Yeah,
what?
they'd come in for an amended site plan.
Okay.
Mike, I just had a resident say that a great example that they liked was the medical office building and how far it's set back. Do you know how many feet that is set back, just as a reference and kind of how we're looking here?
Yeah, let's pull that up real quick. I did have
Yeah,
it.
the premier office building. I mean, that's a rear setback, so technically that would only be 40 feet, right?
Yeah,
But someone mentioned that they appreciated the privacy that gave versus Avalon. The two examples close together there of one with the good setback and one.
and that one's interesting too because of the trail. It adds another 10 feet. I wanna say it's 80 feet or 88 feet, I can't remember. We'll gather that here real quick.
Because the trail's both on the west and the south side of Premier Medical, besides the setback.
Yeah. And so we're probably not accomplishing that big of a setback, but we're actually.
Well, but that gives you a feel for.
Gives you, yes, it'd be, give me a
bigger's
feel
better.
for.
So that one is, if I go 80, let's see, yeah, 80 feet to the start of the trail, 95 feet to the back of the property.
Okay.
So under our current proposal, you would go, if we go from the property line of the residence, it'd be about there.
Well, and this, and just to clarify, right, it would only be 40 feet technically, because that's the rear.
Yeah, so right now you would be, so if this is the rear, you would be here. If this is the rear under our ordinance, it's, so you
I thought we
start
just
at,
kept the
it'd be-
rear just
it'd be
40
40.
feet, period.
so 40, so you would actually be the same on this one, you'd be, so this rear would be the same. You'd be the same as this medical office.
And usually it's not the rear that poses the problem as
Right,
much
it's the
as it
side. I
does the
just-
side setback.
But that just gives me a good idea. Someone mentioned it. It's not quite as good, but we're actually making it better than what
Yeah.
it was. So.
Review the height restrictions under this new.
Yeah, so let's go back to the,
And that's,
So
good,
this
'cause that's
would-
progressive now.
so here's the property line here, be on this side of the fence. So at 20 feet, you'd be allowed to do a 20-foot height.
And this is the side yard.
Yeah, this is a side yard. So for every foot above 20 feet, you have one additional foot of setback. So if your building is 30 feet, you have a 30-foot setback. So anything over 20, you have one additional foot of setback until you get to 30. And then when you get to 30, you have 2 additional feet of setback up to 48 feet. And then on the rear yard, you would, instead of 20, we're keeping the 40 feet. And so then at 30, you have, you start the, let's see. So at 30 feet, you start the 2 additional feet of setback up to the 48.
Okay, so there is a progressive on the
Yeah.
rear too. I'd forgotten that, so.
Now, the front height limitation
So that really gives them.
doesn't, it can be as high as the building can be allowed, right?
Right.
Yeah, you could go to the 48 feet. But you're gonna have a 66-foot setback instead of a 40-foot setback.
For front yard.
The front yard is the 20 feet.
Right.
Right. But
You can go 20 and then 48.
Yes.
It's
along
it's
the-
not progressive in the
What
front.
I've experienced is, in some of our buildings, is that the cities are trying to get you to be lower
And
in the
step.
front and step it up, which
Yeah.
in essence, I feel like it should be just the opposite way. Should be higher at the street level
Right,
and go
the way we're doing
progressively
it.
down
Right, the way we're doing
to the
it.
rear yard.
Cities like that pedestal look
Yeah, yeah.
along the street.
So Mike, on the rear yard then, what is, if you have the maximum sized building, what is the setback need
So
to be?
you'd have 40, you'd have a 40-foot,
Plus 2 times 18, is that right?
yeah.
Another 36
So you're at
feet.
a 76. So almost like, so that would almost give you what we did in that medical building.
Yeah. Yeah, because that medical building,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
so that medical building is,
You know, and typically it's not gonna be a problem on the rear, again, cause that's where they're gonna try and put their parking.
Right.
And so it's usually not a problem there.
No, I like that does that. I was thinking it was only 40, but so that actually gives it more on the rear.
On the rear, that's our setback right now, is the 40, isn't it?
it's 40, although anywhere it's touching
Yeah,
residential, it's 40.
right.
And
We're already
typically,
starting at
But
40.
but again, it's, usually it's gonna be much more than that.
Right.
In a rear.
Right.
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, if you got a building that tall, you're gonna have parking.
gotta have parking.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we haven't seen a big appetite for doing parking garages or parking underground, it's just too
Yeah.
expensive.
We got 2 parking garages, but they're out there by the Pleasant Grove interchange.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, any other questions or?
If this
Go ahead.
ordinance passes, is this gonna influence maybe some development on the Norton property where it, you get the 300 feet of commercial and then the townhomes?
That one, we specifically called out a 30-foot setback between the commercial and the residential, so that,
that zone that we created.
only for that, overlay zone.
But didn't we limit the height of those buildings too? No, we didn't.
Not the commercial buildings on
Not the
State Street.
commercial. Okay.
Cause
Okay.
that's hopefully, it'll, try to work together as one project.
Well, that's what we're hoping, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, should we close the public hearing and then we can discuss it and then make a motion?
Have a member
Just
of
so
the
I
public
understand
now.
though, like,
We have, we have Councilman Vanchery here, and thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
just for clarification, so with multifamily, we're considering that for the purpose of this discussion, residential, and this would apply in certain, I mean, like on the 700 North, if they put in some multifamily, but it abuts commercial, which it probably is gonna happen, this would, if it gets passed, apply to there, right?
Right.
So I guess my question is multifamily considered residential for the purpose of this?
So if say an apartment building went in next to commercial, would the opposite occur? Would the residents still have to be,
No, would the commercial building still need to follow this setback? If it's abutting multifamily? Because to me, that's residential, but I'm just saying, for the purposes of this discussion, is multifamily residential?
it would, yes.
Because it can also be defined as somewhat commercial too.
Yeah, you still would have to meet these setback requirements.
And so, I guess, so thinking of 700 North, but I'm assuming if anything gets developed there, we're probably creating an exception to the zone that's there that might be
I
different.
put Lindon Village in this, knowing that still, we may have to come back and amend this and if we do its own.
For Lindon Village.
Linden Village, I think,
But for now,
We'll
I put
create
it
its
in
own.
here to be safe, and then we may need to adjust that later on. But, really, I wanted to make sure we were protecting, these residents along here.
Infill areas.
Yeah,
Mhm.
right now where we've got these single family, we've got these with Ivory. And for now, I wanted to make sure we were protecting that, and then so we can continue to discuss it as if we create a new zone down there.
Are you ready to close the public hearing unless our member of the public has any comments? Okay, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, the voting is unanimous. And now, is there any additional discussion before we make a motion?
I think just a shout out to our staff. They've done a great job in preparing great visuals and things to help
Oh,
us see it, so
That's been really good.
I,
Thanks, Mary, you did those, huh?
That was definitely Mary's tell.
Okay, are we ready for a motion then?
I'll make a motion.
Okay,
I move to recommend approval of ordinance amendment 2022-2-0 as presented to us by staff.
I second that motion.
okay, I have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the voting is unanimous. Okay. And those are the only two items on our agenda, except, are there anything that planning commissioners would like to bring up at this time?
just, I don't know if there's anything in the works, Mike. I've had residents once again express their displeasure with the streetlights that Lindon uses and how they don't shade any light down or, So-
We've gone to a new fixture that's an LED that doesn't have the bulb. It's reset, it's flat. I've got them down in my office, we can look at if you want to come down afterwards. But we have gone to a new structure. Hopefully that will help minimize that.
are they gonna be replacing anything in the old ones?
Not that I'm aware of.
Where are these going then?
Well, these would be the,
Ends forward.
Yeah, so wherever Main
So there's different types, like on the corners, you have it's called an esplanade. On the, you've got the Washington Post light and Granville, they go mid-blocks, and cul-de-sacs. So it just depends. With the development code calls out different streets and locations where they're supposed to go.
So if residents feel like they're being, I mean, like to them, these violate every part of our light ordinance that we've done on anybody else. Do they have any means to try to get these fixed?
I'd have them contact Juan Garrido, our public works director. I know he's worked with a couple of residents.
Okay. Just so that,
I don't understand what the complaint is.
the complaint, there's a light that has, it's so bright, blocks away, they can't sleep.
It's not shaded.
It's not shaded, it doesn't go down, it's just, it's high and it's
We did get,
into windows, is what they're.
we did work with the lighting contractor. They did show us a plate we can buy that can go in the top, so it's more dark sky compliant. But that still may not resolve some people's issues, because I know they are a little brighter. But
Anything up and down State Street's not Lindon City lights, though.
No, this is in like,
Right?
it's our light requirement, but
It is your, okay.
yes.
it's like, there's one on Gilman Lane, I think, that I've heard a lot of complaints about that shines.
Yeah, I know Juan's been
Blocks
over
away.
there. I know particularly of that light, Juan is working with them, I believe.
And so,
The airplanes won't be able to land if we, it's guiding them in.
Yeah. But yeah, I
There's
do
some
have
bright
those
ones.
downstairs if you want to look at them. They're hopefully will help with that.
I'll pass that on. I don't have one near my house that bothers me, but,
It does make a difference. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a development that went in across the street from my mom, and we're used to this dark street, and now 2 lights are there, and it's like, holy cow,
yeah.
so.
And so, yeah, so I'll just let these residents know that they've changed, and then if they have a big complaint, they can work with Juan to see if there's anything that can be done
Yeah.
to fix their particular situation. So, thank you, Mike.
Any other comments?
I've had some public comment to me that I have said I'll pass it on about a couple of vacant lots that are just becoming so unsightly. One on Locust, that's that one there north of,
On the corner?
no, on Locust.
Oh,
Where the home was built, and there's a broken down excavator.
Yeah, the
That's
Torgersons.
at Green Valley condos.
Yeah, and then the one on Fourth North in the corner of
Yeah.
Fourth North and Locust is just becoming unsightly.
I know
don't
we've got we've got building plans in for
Yeah.
those 2 homes.
For the one at Fourth and Locust.
But that won't clean up the west half of that. That'll only do 2 building lots
Yeah,
on the east half.
that's true.
So I don't know if there's anything the city can do. If you have a weedy field, they get after you to mow it. I mean, this is beyond that.
Yeah.
Piles of dirt all over everything. Yeah.
Junk,
Yeah.
garbage.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of country, though.
Yeah,
I know.
a little bit of redneck.
But if it is considered some kind of a public nuisance?
Yeah, let me look
Yeah.
into those.
Yeah, and I don't know if there's any
Okay.
more
The other one
movement.
was on Locust, that's the one with the track hoe.
It's, yeah, it's just
I think
south of
it's on
my
the
house,
east.
just a little bit on the
east
other
side.
side of the street.
Okay, I think I know which one that is. Burned out track hoe for a while, didn't it? Or
There's
backhoe, or,
there's a track hoe on there that I don't think's run for 5 or 6 years.
It's the old mayor's place right there in the very middle, Joe Christiansen.
You used to have an old barn on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the old Joe Christiansen place.
Only you would know. Mike knows more history, but. Okay, I don't have anything else. Anyone else?
What do you see upcoming on the next agenda?
I don't know if it'll be on the next, what do we,
The Lindon Nursery's amended site plan, she said that she wants to get plans in by Friday, which means it'd be on the next agenda.
just moving the greenhouses from the back of the property up next to the store. We may have a subdivision plat to clean all that up. That was one of the conditions of approval to how they did the illegal subdivision, so to clean that up. We're really close on the residential portion of that to bring to you. They're very aware they can't get building permits for the residential, but they can phase it for approvals. And so they may bring that to you. We're gonna meet tomorrow and talk about that with the developer. But other than that,
That's on the Norton property?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. The ordinance allows them to phase it, but they know they can't get building permits until they get, for the residential, until they do the commercial, so. But I don't know, we're gonna meet tomorrow to see if they wanna just move forward with the residential. The renderings I'm really impressed with, I like them, if you want me to pull them up for you real quick, for the townhomes.
But can they move forward on the residential?
They can get entitlements, they just can't get building permits for the residential.
And this is
They
the same
can't-
developer? Or do
They
we?
can't move forward at all then?
They can't, they can go through the entitlement process, so they
What
can
do you
get,
mean by that?
they can get their subdivision and site plan approval, but they just can't get any building permits for the
Yeah.
residential until we approve site plan and building permits for the commercial.
And where are they at on site plan and building permits for the commercial?
They're working on one of the buildings right now, but I haven't seen renderings or the site plan yet.
We have approved low book sales, right?
Yes.
Right, we
There's
have.
nothing going on there that I've seen.
No, there's not. I was gonna reach out to them, cause we've approved it as the city as well. So I don't know if they're just now waiting, maybe it's, I don't know if
Waiting
it's
for it to get
for
warm.
spring or what, for
Asphalt.
work on that,
Wondered that too.
so.
On the 7th of February, we have Tim Clyde coming in again to regale us with horror stories. And we're going to attempt to work out something so he can get that ditch bank cleaned up and see where he's got some definite hangups about a few things that we're requiring, that hopefully we can find a happy medium. So,
Okay, you need to give me a little more history on Tim Clyde.
fencing specialist,
The lot that's
Fork North, right?
East of the
Just-
pizza
Okay.
factory.
just east
Yeah.
of my building there.
That whole berm there is
East
just
of Pizza
broken
Factory.
brambles, and
Yeah.
That's right, it's
he wants
Nest.
some quality ingress, egress in there, but there's some things that the city has asked him to do that he's feeling is a little bit exorbitant and costly. He's making some overtures that other individuals in the city have just as bad a looking site, and we're not requiring them to clean it up. So anyway, the point is, hopefully we can get that resolved and make that look quite a bit better.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the issues there, though, is that he rezoned it from residential to commercial.
Commercial.
So in order to use it as a commercial property, he should then have to make the commercial improvements. And I think that's probably the hangup, is
Yeah,
that,
that's part of it, yeah.
because I know that.
Because if it had been left residential, then we don't have landscaping requirements on residential. But commercial, it changes it completely, doesn't it?
And Mike, I guess on that, wouldn't he have to then bring a site plan when he
Yeah,
gonna turn that into commercial use? He'd need to
needs to
bring
come
a
to
site
you.
plan.
We're just kind of starting over. It's been dormant for quite a while now. So
Yeah.
anyway, just for your information, that's, we're going to meet them on the 7th.
Okay. Do you have anything else you'd like to share with us, or?
Well, you probably know by now that what we did the salary study and salary survey, and we've got certain individuals, certain positions up to the market, and that lasted not very long. They've come back with some other numbers, and we find that we're on average almost 6% below just cost of living. And so, as you well know, Monday, the council voted an across-the-board 6% cost of living raise for all city employees.
Wow.
And then police, we're looking specifically at police. I talked to some Lehigh police officers at the basketball game on Friday in Lehigh, and they just got a $3 an hour raise. They're very shortly going to get another $1 an hour. They'll also get a generous COLA. And then right after that, they're looking at another. So we're hearing things. They say they're being courted by a lot of Salt Lake quite a few employees that have been looking or being wooed by other entities. We did make 2 adjustments. We reclassified 2 department heads. That'll come out. I think it's important right now to give all the details, but we were able to keep some very essential personnel. And so we still have to look a little bit harder, but we really need to get through this February 7th council interviews. We got 15 people on the 7th that we're going to be interviewing. That's going to be quite a long meeting, so we're working on that. Won't go into any details, but Mike could probably tell you better privately, but we are seeing some movement on 700 North on a few proposed projects. And the ones that we've talked to seem to be amenable to doing what we need them to do. And one in particular is, how do we used to say it, hot to trot. Wanted to start building in April or May.
Wow.
I asked you rhetorically, what color is the sky in your world? But anyway, yeah, so things are really looking well. Our sales tax revenue is still strong. So we feel very, very blessed. And some good things are happening and will continue to be happening. And with that, our employees, we've been getting feedback from the employees that how appreciative they are, that we recognize their value and we recognize the situation with, the new inflation and so forth. So I think it made a big difference.
So why was the meeting last night termed as a special meeting?
Because it was special.
I know.
Well, anytime
Because
it,
it wasn't on our regular schedule.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
All right, but it was an open meeting?
Yes,
Okay.
it was.
I wasn't sure if it was or not, where it was termed that way.
That was the case, but,
Was that the meeting that I thought you had on Friday, you had on Monday instead?
they had on Friday.
It was on Friday?
Yeah, it was on
Oh,
Friday.
okay.
Yeah, I tried to see, was that not broadcast?
no.
Okay, because I was at work, but I was interested, so I tried to go to YouTube to see if I could find it, and I couldn't find it. So I guess it just wasn't broadcast.
I don't know the legal.
Yeah, I wouldn't think you'd have to,
We don't have to.
No.
Yeah, but
Broadcast
he was
something like
very
that.
good to make sure we were within the confines of the law.
No, I just,
The one last night, you mean, or?
no, it wasn't last night, it was Friday, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And I just, out of curiosity, I tried to, but on the notice, it didn't say it was gonna be streamed, so I'm assuming all the notice was correctly done. I just wondering if I was inept at finding it, but I guess it just wasn't there.
It's getting amazing. I mean, some of these cities are offering anywhere from $3,000 to $10,000 signing bonuses to get people to come to work for them.
Are they that shorthanded?
well, when you treat your cops the way they have been in Salt Lake City, they're gonna have to really reach out to,
Yeah, people are quitting.
I mean, it took me 3 months to find Mary, so.
Thank goodness you found her.
Yeah, we like Mary.
I may or may not have mentioned this, and this is kind of apples and oranges, but when I was at Walmart here a week or 2 ago, I was lamenting on the lack of cashiers. And they said that in November alone, 23 employees quit because they either had a better offer or most of them were getting more on unemployment than they were working at Walmart. So that's kind of what we're seeing. I mean, you've got Del Taco offering $20 an hour for an evening shift manager.
yeah, we've had the problem at the credit union. Tellers, we've had to up the pay there, cause they'd rather go cut lettuce for $18 an hour over to In-N-Out than have a teller job now. A lot of things at play.
Mayor Lumberg has hit the ground running. She's doing a fantastic job. She's got a vision. She's very focused and task-driven, which is a great thing. And yet to see, she's definitely got a list of priorities that we'll be discussing later, but I'm confident she would welcome any feedback that folks had, so hold on for the ride.
So on February 7th is the only agenda item, the city council candidates, or are there other items too?
Well, I would imagine we'd have the basics, like the approving the minutes and
Well, yeah.
maybe, but I think primarily it's going to be, we'd even talked about, talking about the police issue, because we've got to make a decision on it pretty soon. We all agreed that it was just, the meeting would be so long that it probably wouldn't be productive to discuss it at that time.
Well, you mentioned you'd have Tim Clyde on the 7th, and I don't know if
Oh,
you're,
that's a development review committee meeting, I'm sorry.
Oh.
In the morning
that's, okay.
at 10 a.m., I'm sorry. I didn't think that.
Brian, at what point will the city be able to quit having Zoom meetings, broadcasts?
Anytime now that we're back in live person, we could do it, but I think that generally speaking, they're gonna, to continue doing those. But,
What, forever, or
The
just?
YouTube ones?
the YouTube, I think we're gonna broadcast them, I think that was.
Well, I mean like tonight's meeting being, it's gonna always be live on Zoom.
I believe so.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. So that's what they,
Does the state require us to do that?
Let's consider not doing that.
Transparency.
Well, it's nice to have people in person too.
Yeah, 'cause
And
it's
for the
kinda-
interaction.
well, this is just for people to watch at home if they're, this is not for people.
Oh, they can interact, and if they wanna interact, they still have to come here.
Right.
Okay.
If they log into YouTube and type out a question, but that, no one's done that yet. At least for planning commission that I know of, so.
How many viewers do you usually have?
For planning commission, we usually get like
None?
2 or 3 maybe. Tonight, we don't have any,
Yeah.
so.
I don't see a problem with it, you know, if people are interested and wanna watch it and keep up to date on things, I think that's great.
And we've always had a provision that we could do stuff electronically for members of the commission and members of the council.
Right, and that's
if they're out of
understandable.
town and stuff, so that will continue with actual Zoom
Yeah,
capabilities, but just broadcasting it for people to observe, I think that the plan is to just continue doing that.
I
yeah.
think that's great.
I think it helps us too, like when we're.
If somebody's gonna call us a horse's butt, they ought to be here doing it in person.
I was just gonna show you real quick the renderings for the Norton property. I've been really impressed with Sago Homes that's putting these together.
Sago Homes is doing it, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
So I think they look really good, giving us a lot of information, a lot of different variations on the homes, trying to make them look more residential and to fit in. I like the chimneys on them, you know, the different colors there. They've done a lot of detail on the garages and the doors and.
No, I think it looks nice that there's variation and stuff. I think,
Yeah,
not that we're here to do it, but the ones over at the Lindon Nursery were more just plain. These look,
yeah, same style, they just changed the architecture where this one is a lot.
a lot of different looks and,
Yeah, here's their fourplex and then the rest of these are all 6s, but
Sago Homes, but that's
And
Wayne Corbin.
are they gonna also do the single family?
they are, I believe so.
Twin homes in this?
Interesting.
Oh, there's a fourplex and then 6
4 and
plexes.
6?
Yeah. So. Okay,
Okay, anything else you wanted to cover tonight?
nope,
Okay, then I guess we're ready for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll move that we adjourn the meeting.
I second that motion.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, look at that. 5 minutes to 7.